is Loren LoRosa and Young Miami and Stevie J are sticking their necks out there for Diddy. They're telling the judge that is a good man, Savannah. It's been a while, I think, since we've discussed anything Diddy related, anything trial related, but you guys know we're on a beat here at the latest with Loren LoRosa because we have been following this case and in court with this case since it began. Now, we are literally days away from the sentencing of Sean Diddy Combs. Diddy will be sentenced on October 3rd. Today is the 23rd of September. So next week. So that is, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. We have under, oh wait, why did I count to the 10th? I'm trying to give him some more days and some more time. My bad, Diddy. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have it's about 9 to 10 days. So we, at this point, by the time you see this, we will be less than 10 days away from the sentencing of one of the most successful, richest, biggest names in hip hop, in celebrity in general. At this point, we all know Sean Diddy Combs and his career has transcended just hip hop. The sentencing will be going down on October 3rd. I will be there in court that day. So I'll be bringing you guys the update both here on the podcast, the latest with Loren LoRosa, but also on the Breakfast Club. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think, today there were new developments because yesterday, Diddy's lawyers filed a packet. And the packet is like over 160 pages long. I have not been able to actually read all of the pages. We did talk about this a bit on the Breakfast Club this morning, but and what I was able to read just in preparing for that segment this morning, because they also sent it out pretty late. I got a text around 1 a.m. Just, shooting a heads up that the packet was filed and that, certain, things were not available for media and just all the things from a source close to the case. And I woke up to that. So I've not been able to read through all of the packet, but I am going to read through all of the packet. Just because I want to make sure I fully understand how they're coming about the sentencing. They is Diddy's legal team. Just from the index of the packet alone, I can tell you that, from that and also from sitting in court, they're angling on what they've been talking about and where they've been from the beginning. Just, talking a bit about, the fact that drugs played a role, the fact that Diddy's upbringing and things that he experienced in his upbringing, his father being taken away from him, being killed, single parent household, and, all those things, drugs in his, adult life, the fact that the Jane Does were willing participants of things, the fact that other Johns, or whatever you call it, in a prostitution situation are treated a certain way and sentenced a certain way. And, Diddy's team feels like because he is who he is, he's being given a harsher punishment and things of that nature. That's what it seems like they're leaning into without reading it. I'll read you guys a bit of the table of contents. So this basically just lays out, and it's 182 pages to be exact. I have it here pulled up. So the table of contents, it begins with an introduction and it goes into the argument. The argument is where they're going to lay out okay, here is a lot of the things I just said. Here's exactly what we're saying. Here's everything we're saying to you. Here's everything we're recounting and reciting. So as you make this one last final decision, these are all the things we want top of mind for you to remember. So they talk about Mr. Combs' history and characteristics. They go into, again, his upbringing, the effect of the death of his father, the dedication to his family. He leans a lot on family. He has throughout this whole case, but he's leaned a lot on family in a lot of the follow-up letters. His last couple requests for bail after he was sentenced on the 2 charges of the Mann Act. And now here in this sentencing packet, his twin daughters, his son Quincy, his son Justin, and his son Christian all submitted character letters as well. Just talking about how good of a dad he is, why they need him, how important it is for him to be home. How the death of Christian Combs and the twin daughters, the Combs twins, their mother, Kim Porter, how her death has impacted them. And then, you take their dad, Diddy, and you put him in jail. And, the girls say their world has been shattered. And, and it's been devastating for them. As you can imagine, it's been devastating for them. But they all talk about that and how good of a father he is, how he's always there showing up for them. his mom's letters are also listed in this table of contents. His mom talks about her age and how her health is deteriorating, which there were stories in the beginning of all of this when Diddy was first being arrested for the indictment and going through other things of her suffering a slight heart attack and going through some health issues. But Diddy's mom was in court every single day. D- Diddy's mom was there like she was an attorney. There got to a point where his daughters were not there. And I think, to be honest with you, a lot of that stuff that was being discussed and that was, being talked about on the stand and just presented by the attorneys on both sides was very graphic. So it was kind of like the couple times that I was in court and I was in the main courtroom and his daughters were there, it was kind of like almost like uneasy for me to have to hear that and watch his daughters have to hear it. So I don't know how unsettling it was for his daughters, but I can only imagine because that's their dad. Um, but yeah, so they weren't in court all the time, but they were there. His sons were there dang near every day. His mom was there every single day. I think I only remember one time that she did not show up. And not only was she showing up, but Miss Janice Combs, who was Diddy's mother, would also, she wouldn't stop and talk to the media outside all the time, but we have video of her from outside of the court on the verdict day, just the crowd cheering and she's blowing kisses and waving. So she was very well aware that there were some people still there supporting Diddy, and she appreciated the love and she showed that as well. But they also, have letters from friends. Young Miami, Carisha, submitted a letter. She talks about going to the Met Gala and just Diddy changing her life and her perspective because, he always showed her how he was able to, break down doors and barriers for Black people through his Black excellence. While break down a door is not a good thing to say about Diddy in 2025. Um, y'all know what I'm saying. Basically, she talks about her show and going to the Met Gala and all these opportunities and how that was life changing for her and what he symbolizes or symbolized. Because that's the thing, too. It's like, when Diddy comes home, what is the legacy now? That's a major question. Like, what is the legacy? But she talks about that, like what he symbolized at one point for Black people and, having a seat at the table. She signs the letter, Judge, that is a good man. Of course, that's a good man, Savannah, is what popped up. But she signs the letter, Judge, that is a good man. His friend and, our entertainment, Stevie J, also wrote a letter to the judge. And in this letter, and y'all know in the beginning of all this, Stevie J was like, even before Diddy was locked up, Stevie J was right there with him the whole time. I did not see Stevie J at all in court. Not while I was there. I did not see him show up to court while I was there. On any of the days I was there, I didn't see him in the courtroom when I was in the actual main courtroom where you could see people. But I know prior to Diddy being locked up, Stevie J was right there with him. There was videos of Stevie J and Diddy riding bikes in Miami after the indictment came down, right there with him. I know Stevie J was on the TMZ doc speaking on Diddy's behalf. He's just been right there, like literally right there. But he explains in the letter, Stevie J does, in the letter that Stevie J wrote, he says Diddy showed up for him in a very crucial time in his life. He says, his dad was his best friend. And Stevie J says his dad passed away about 2 years ago. And without even asking him, Diddy paid for basically majority of the funeral costs because that's just the good-hearted person that he was. That's how Stevie J paints him. Stevie J also talks about them being friends for all of these decades and years. And, he describes himself by talking about a lot of the work that Stevie J himself has done with Biggie and, Michael Jackson and all these people because Diddy and him were friends. They met in the studio and he says, Diddy changed his life. So it speaks a lot to that. He also talks about, them going through a battle of dealing with drugs and abuse and all these different things. But Stevie J himself being in, therapy and doing different things to help his mental health and the addictions that they experience, and that Diddy, in doing the same, can also be a changed man. He just needs a chance to do it. So they poured it on heavy in the letters. And that's what you do in these letters. They're character statements. People want these statements. Attorneys want these statements because they want a judge to see another side of the person that they've been sitting with in court and hearing all of these things about for all of this time. The way that the people are dragging Carisha for submitting a letter is insane, though. Like, people are coming for Carisha. Now, here's the thing. Whenever we've heard Carisha talk about, everything with Diddy, everything with Puff, what she saw, what she did not see, I think, for the longest there was a question of did she experience any of the abuse or just anything herself? She's always said no. I think, not even think, at the time when everything happened, it was very obvious that she distanced herself from him, at least publicly, that we knew of. And she's a music artist with a whole big career. She has to at that point. But I think the upset comes in for people because it's like, okay, you didn't see it. You weren't around for it. You may not have experienced it. But as a public figure, as a celebrity, as a female rapper and a woman with platform, to stand next to him now that you have is something that we not gonna condone that. So she has been trending all day. I believe she's currently trending on Twitter right now as we speak. Before I started this show, I always just check to see what's trending. I do that about like 5 times a day, but before I started this show, she was trending across Twitter. Yeah, she's still trending. She is trending number 28 across the United States right now because of this letter that she wrote in support of Diddy, where she told the judge, that is a good man. Okay, Savannah, that is a good man. Now, listen, y'all let me know what y'all think, because what Carisha is referencing in this letter is all of the work that she's saying Diddy has done to become a better person. Everybody in these letters, Diddy's legal team, that is, they want Diddy to get some time served, be able to come home, go into rehabilitation, be supervised. They're saying the time that he has been behind bars was enough rehabilitation for him. What y'all think? Do you guys think that is only fair for Diddy to, because of what he was actually convicted of, which were the prostitution acts, right? The Mann Acts, 2 counts of it. Do y'all think it's fair for Diddy to come home? Diddy's legal team is saying that it's only fair. It says, as discussed at length above. So this is on page 180 of 182. As discussed at length above, the proposed sentence is the only just and fair sentence for Mr. Combs for all of the reasons set forth here. So they talk about the guidelines. They say, this is what the sentencing guidelines say, and this is what we should believe. And what they say is that if he is given the 14-month sentence, there should be a supervised release because they're going to want time served, and he's already done about 14 months. They chalked it at 13 months so far. So there should be a supervised release, according to Diddy's team, drug treatment, therapy, and group therapy in the sentence. And that would make it sufficient, but not greater than necessary to accomplish the traditional goal of sentencing. So basically, they're saying to the judge, if you want him to continue to serve out what the consequence should be and not overpunish him, here's exactly what needs to happen. Y'all let me know. Do y'all think that it's fair? But also, too, what I'm looking at if I'm the judge is, has he actually learned his lesson in all of this? Because if I'm going to be honest with you guys, just drop your predictions below. My prediction is that the judge is not going to go for time served in a supervised release. I think the judge, I don't see Diddy, because the acts he's convicted of carry up to 20 years, 10 years per act, right? But the prosecutors are saying, let's look at about 4 to 5 years. His team is like, a year is what we should be looking at with all of these stipulations once he's released. And here's the time he's already done. He's already done 14 months, a little over a year and 2 months. He's already done 13. I don't think that the judge is going to go with this, because I think a judge is going to continue. Like, I thought, and I said it, I thought that Diddy was going to be given a bail that last go round when he was found not guilty of the more serious charges, the RICO Act, and it was just the Mann Act charges. I'm like, okay, at least they'll give him a bail. He'll be able to go home until the sentencing, and then, because I didn't believe then that his sentencing, or what he would be sentenced would be low. I've always thought that it would be somewhere around like I thought it would be around like 6 to 8. So even the prosecutor saying 4 to 5 years, I think is like, I really think that a judge is going to end and land somewhere around like 3 years. I really don't see what the prosecutors are requesting. I don't see 14 months and all this, welcome home supervising. Because that day that verdict happened and the judge had to say, no, you're not going nowhere. Bring that on back over here. You're not going nowhere. One of the biggest things he kept pointing to was all of Diddy's actions after the indictment. Because here's the thing, and a lot of these letters, right? Like if we go back up to page 1, where we're talking about this introduction, right? Or not the introduction, we're talking about this table of contents. Literally, they talk about Mr. Combs being dedicated to his family. He was dedicated to his family before and after the RICO. Mr. Combs, his career, his work history, his mom and her health and all these people he's helped and, all the things that he has on the line. The biggest point here is that after that indictment, there were still things that happened. The prosecutors say when they went to arrest Diddy, they found the drugs in his room. They found the setup for another alleged freak off. There had been conversation about whether he had reached out to witnesses or not. There's text messages and different things that were submitted, conversations that were had about, him knowing he wasn't supposed to be talking on certain phones and talking about certain things, but doing certain things. Now, with all of this being said, I think the biggest thing here is, of course, there's that Cassie video, which is way before the indictment, but the way that was handled in the beginning has also, and I think, people were like, oh my God, it's unfair to keep bringing up the video, but these character letters and the fact that they have about, let me tell y'all, I think they have almost 20 character references. I mean, it's Diddy. He's a celebrity, so you're gonna have that. No, they have over 70 letters because Exhibit 71 is additional letters of support. So they have almost somewhere near or over a little over 100 letters of character reference support. The reason why Diddy's attorneys are leaning so much into trying to clear up his character is because what you saw on that video, what we saw in photos as evidence in the court from the hotel he was waiting in to turn himself in, the conversations we've heard in, text message and email and voice notes of just things that showed Diddy truly understanding his power. But more so, the prosecutors are kind of using what the defense is saying and working it in their favor very well here, because Diddy's team leans a lot into the drug stuff. He wasn't thinking clearly because of his addiction, because of his mental health, because of things he's been through. The prosecutors are like, well, yeah, okay, but he needs to be rehabilitated. And that doesn't happen in the time that you guys are saying. And that's going to be the judge's decision. But I do think after hearing that judge give that decision on no bond, the last go round after that verdict was read, I don't think that this judge is going to buy that Diddy has found, this new form of rehabilitation within these last 13 months. I'm happy to hear, because they've also mentioned here that this is the first time that he's been completely sober in about 25 years. I'm happy to hear that, but we all know when you think about addiction, people think about addiction in the long term. There's a lot of work that's going to need to be done, whether Diddy is locked up or not. And as a judge, I think what he's thinking of is, yes, you want rehabilitation. And this judge has been really, really fair. Diddy stood up and thanked the judge and said he was fair. At the end of the trial, Stevie J says in his letter, thank you, judge, for basically doing your job and doing a great job, throughout this trial. So that has not been the argument. They've tried to bring that up with the prosecutors, with the prosecutors being unfair and it being a white versus black thing, but that didn't really stick. I don't see the judge leaning in here in Diddy's favor. I just don't, because I think with everything that the judge has seen and heard, and I'm talking about just as of recent, like the recent stuff right before he was taken into custody, I think that it's screaming that there's a bigger problem here, and it's something that if not nipped in the bud for good, it could harm a lot of people, but it could also harm Diddy himself. Y'all, we talking about, they were telling us that Diddy overdosed at one point and then just, went on about his life. Y'all let me know what y'all think, though. I want to hear y'all predictions. Again, we're back in court in less than 10 days, trying to figure this out. Man, I wish the best for everybody in this situation, but that's just where I'm at with. That's what I think. That is my prediction. After looking at the facts, presenting the facts, we're going to keep going through these packets and there's going to be some things that'll come as we lead into this is the road to the sentencing of Sean Diddy Combs.